Hi, welcome to this wonderful edition of Maker Camp. And I'm Josh from BrownDogGadgets.com, hanging out with you. And if you want to see more of these fun live streams of projects for kids and adult makers galore, check out more of them at makercamp.com/events. Sign up for the events, get notifications, all that fun jazz. If you make something really cool, one of these projects, and you want to share it with us, because we would love to see the cool things you make, check it out with a hashtag #MakeTogether. Pop it up on social media, Twitter, Facebook, all that other fun things. Or check out the wonderful at Maker Camp or Family Maker Camp. I can't read my own.
Family Maker Camp.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm here with him. Josh, I'm here with Pete. Pete's over here.
I'm over here. Hello. I'm in the internet.
He is the internet at this point. So Pete's over here next to me helping me out put this together. So today we are making a really fun wearable piece of electronics. And we're going to go over the materials, how to make this thing, all that fun jazz. But first and foremost, if you want to find the directions for this project now or in the future, you can find our wonderful PDF directions for this at browndoggadgets.com. We have all sorts of fun projects, guides, resources, and materials on there, and they're all really focused on the home or classroom for making. And this project is great for both home or classroom use, whether you're a parent trying to get something fun with your kid this afternoon because everything's shut down, or a teacher or summer camp in the future. You can find those directions and more at browndoggadgets.com. Our directions are always free, so they're going to be up there forever and a day. Plus, you'll have this wonderful live stream to look back on, so you can make it along with us. So let's pop down to our overhead camera and go over what we need. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
So typically, when people do wearable electronics, they use conductive thread. And here's some conductive thread examples we made ages ago. And conductive thread is really handy. I mean, people use it for all sorts of projects. You need to have some specialized components, though, to really sew things into place. Regular LEDs don't tend to work. However, we can get around that by avoiding any sewing whatsoever, because that's annoying. That much sewing is a lot of work. We can just switch from thread to something very similar, our wonderful Maker tape, which is a nylon-based fabric tape. So it's wonderful stuff. It doesn't break, it bends, it folds, it's extremely strong. And being a fabric tape, it is perfect for making wearables with, because it'll bend and flex and fold with any other fabric you have. And this is actually a finished project we made earlier in the week. There's not a whole lot to it, and we'll be making actually this exact same project here shortly. Now, Pete, you've gifted me today with something unexpected. You came into the office today with some fun little make robots here. Pete, would you mind telling us what these little guys are, the pile of them I have here?
Well, our friends over at Make will recognize that as Makey, the robot that kind of graces Maker Faire and Make Magazine. He's a fun little guy. So I cut that out of felt with a laser cutter, thinking maybe you want to put it on your bracelet.
Oh, yes.
There's some various sizes. The bigger one, I feel like his eyes might fit some 5mm LEDs pretty good.
And I think he totally would fit a 5mm LED. Here's a 5mm LED right here. But I can actually probably pop it through the other side, too, so it catches on the lip on the bottom.
Look at that.
We'll try that out later here at the end, because we have a bit of time and we have a lot of materials in front of us. So let's go over the materials you need to make this project. So in general, this project has a few core components. First and foremost, let's get these little maker guys out of the way. We have a coin cell battery. We're using a CR2032 battery. This is a fairly common 3-volt battery. You can find them tons of places. When in doubt, Dollar Tree is a good local place to find them, or Amazon, or they come in kits that we have that Makershed.com has. Makershed, the official store for make things. Makershed.com. Thanks, Pete. Makershed carries some versions of our kits as well, including our wonderful Maker tape, which is the next thing you need. This is a big 20-meter roll of our Maker tape, and there it is. Nice, fun fabric tape. It's really tough to rip by hand. And we're just getting a little bit of that guy. Actually, important to have this over, say, copper foil. Don't use copper foil. Copper foil will not work for this project. You'll end up with a whole bunch of tears running down your cheek. One, from the paper cuts it gives you, and two, because it won't actually work with the design we have. It'll probably break fairly easily as soon as things start to bend and fold. You're also going to need something to light up. So we're going to use some big jumbo 10mm LEDs. We're going to use one of them for our first one. And I think since Pete made these wonderful little make robots, we're going to use some 5mm LEDs here to try to make one of those up really quickly with another piece of felt if we have the time today.
Josh, if you missed it, there's
Oh.
a fun fact. Makey is actually a she.
Oh, well,
Robots
thank you,
have
Alicia.
gender in that one.
I always figured
She.
they were, like just a ungendered thing.
Robots
Just
can
it.
have genders. So
I
there
now
you go.
I don't know. I always thought like Rosie from the Jetsons was the one robot I knew had a gender.
Yeah.
But going
Fun
back to the
facts.
Jetsons
Fun
because
facts.
I like to date myself. So we're gonna grab one of these 10 millimeter LEDs. And by the way, if you're doing LED projects in general with kids, you buy these off anywhere. Make sure you're getting diffused LEDs. By the way, diffused LEDs are great. They do a nice little glow in 360 degrees. I'll just throw this battery on here. Whereas a clear LED will have like a beam, like they're like a flashlight. It's a nice way to blind yourself. I can do this all day long, and it doesn't hurt my eyes because there's a nice glow to it. So make sure you use diffused LEDs because that's the majority of like kids projects you want diffused LEDs for. And these are gumdrop size, 10 millimeter wide LEDs versus the more standard. This is a 5 millimeter wide one. These are much more fun for kids to play with.
It's like twice the size.
It literally is twice the size.
Math.
Steve. I know. It's I used to be a science teacher, so I do know my basic math when it comes to these things. And also for this project, I need some fabric. We're using just some felt. This is a nice stiff felt we got off Amazon. Got a couple different colors here depending on what we want to go for. I'm just going to grab. Let's grab this one. Pete, what color would you say this is?
I would say that's yellow.
Yellow it is. So we're going to make a yellow bracelet with a blue LED on it with our silver maker tape. And if you want to, when you're done with this project, by the way, once we have the electronics on, the rest is pretty easy. You can add other decorations on top. These are just fitted over the top of our LED, not even with any adhesive. They're just pushed down on top. You can add decorations galore on here with Elmer's glue, fabric glue, regular tape. I like Elmer's glue because you probably have some, and it's really easy to clean up. Elmer's glue. It's great.
Also known as white glue sometimes.
It is.
Like,
It is.
yeah.
It's not very tasty, I've been told by my former students.
Ugh.
Middle schoolers, they'll eat glue. So we're going to grab this fabric, and we got to probably measure out our wrist. I have adult wrists here, so I'm just going to make a long cut down the middle to give me 2 halves. If you've got children you're doing this project with, you probably want to make things more child-appropriate size so they're not, gigantic on your children. By the way, this exact same approach, what we're doing here, can be added to any piece of clothing or fabric. We have a lab coat somewhere in this photography studio covered in LEDs. You can add this to hats, shirts, whatever. You have a fun make shirt from a maker fair. Give your make robot, your makey, give her some nice light up eyes. Whatever works, but that maker tape will work on anything because it's fabric tape. So first and foremost, we're going to use our handy dandy pair of craft scissors here and just cut down the middle. I would suggest you do a better job than I do when it comes to measuring and figuring things out. I am just awkwardly cutting down the middle here. Ta-da!
Yay!
Yay! Step 1 is done. Also, I'm following my directions here. These are the directions you can find on our website. I totally forgot to mention this. BrownDogGadgets.com. Print off these directions. We have 2 different versions. Makes life really easy. We have 2 designs to do with this. We're going to go with this design because it's a little easier and straightforward. But this is on our website. I'm going to put it to the side again. Nice little PDF for everybody. And got my wonderful piece of fabric here. I'm now going to take my LED. I'm going to look at my LED because this is the one thing you can technically mess up on this project. LEDs have 2 legs on them. They have a positive leg and a negative leg. The positive leg is long, the negative leg is short. You want to figure out which one is which because you have to match the battery up with it. Best part is, though, if you really mess up badly, have things backwards, just flip your battery over later and you're probably A-okay. So first and foremost, bend your legs outwards. They're nice and flat. I'm going to put a little tiny bend on my positive leg here so I don't forget it. Hey, Pete, do you want to switch to the close-up camera?
Close-up camera.
Close-up camera.
We can do that.
I just put a little bent in my leg here so I knew which one is positive so I don't forget because I routinely forget which one is positive.
I forgot 3 times this week already and had to grab a battery and put it on. Which is positive? Yeah,
that happens a lot. So we're going to do that. Now back to our other camera.
Other camera.
Yay, other camera. There we go. And I'm just going to lay this down here in the middle of my project. You could use multiple LEDs if you want. Just put them in parallel. We just line them up, multiple ones in a row. 2 to 3 LEDs max for a coin cell battery. And I just got to figure out where I want everything to go because I can put this LED anywhere on this middle section, really the middle 2/3, leaving a little bit on each end. I'm going to put it right here in the center for convenience of this video. Ta-da. I'm going to start adding tape, because that's literally all we need to do is just start adding tape. So I'm going to first go and add my negative line. Make sure I follow my directions exactly for people watching this at home. In our video, our directions, we have the positive facing downward. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to start and do the negative line out to here first. So we're just going to take some maker tape, and I always like to cut mine a little extra long.
The nice thing, Josh, if you cut it too short, you can just layer another piece on top.
You are correct, Pete.
And it works.
Because our fabric maker tape, trademark. Our maker tape is conductive on top and bottom. So if you, say, end up too short or you need to do a right angle turn and it's kind of awkward, just lay two pieces on top of each other, which we will be doing very shortly here to get things going. So I'm just going to lay some tape over the top here and just go all the way down to the end, like so.
Josh, I'll point out that little bend you put on the leg, it also helps it stand up a little straighter, too.
Oh, it does, too, yeah.
Tilting over.
I'm pretty sure Pete made up these nice little printed directions.
Yeah.
And he does have a little, like, slightly bend the legs a little bit just to get a little more stability. Depends what you're doing. If you're putting stuff on top of it, such as, like, the flowers, that's going to help keep it in place, too. It's fabric. It's felt. It makes life easy. So I've got this little guy out to here. What we're going to do is we're going to make a area using 3 or 4 pieces of maker tape, a nice big contact area. So when we roll it around, it can make contact with itself again. And again, as Pete mentioned, our maker tape is conductive on top and bottom. So we're just going to layer a couple of these over the top here. And I'm just going to make my life easier by cutting an extra long piece of tape. And I'm just going to layer a few pieces on top of each other right here so it covers most of this area at the bottom. So let's just figure about this length-ish. And you can find more Maker Camp supplies at that makercamp.com. Maker Camp is going to do quite a few fun events this year, as well as live streaming galore. We're doing lots of live streaming ourselves through our social media accounts, but we're here to help out our wonderful friends at Make.
And Josh, our friends pointed out here at makershed.com, they have a whole collection of things from Maker Camp that people can get.
Lots of fun.
Shipped right to their house.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah. Amazon is kind of backed up with shipping, especially non-essential things right now, such as home stem supplies are probably non-essential.
Josh, I have a question. What about resistors? Do you need a resistor for these?
Oh, that's a really good question, Pete. Now, typically, you'd probably want to throw a 100 ohm resistor into this kind of setup, but our LEDs actually have built-in resistors.
Built in, you say?
Yes.
Oh,
we go the extra
convenient
step in manufacturing to build them in on the head.
Excellent.
That makes life a little easier. Really, this is only a big issue if you're mixing colors up without resistors. If I do like 3 blues in a row with a battery, no big deal because they all have the same...
same forward voltage?
There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Forward voltage words.
Yes.
Same forward voltages. But if I'm doing like a red and a green and a blue, we're going to have issues. I know that because I've had teachers contact us before about that. Because why is one turning on but the other one's not in a parallel circuit? Well, just different forward voltages.
Mm-hmm. So and that's a fun learning lesson as to the different forward voltages. Yeah.
It is, but for a project like this, we just build in. Since most people are just using one LED anyway. Mm-hmm. You don't really need to worry about it so much. But we build them into our resistors in the heads of our LEDs as an extra little nice thing for educators and parents and people at home.
It's a great idea.
Who just don't care about that kind of stuff so much. So anyway. We've got a little tiny bit of maker tape on here. I've just overlapped it a bit with this line here, so they're all electrically connected. I clearly have done a great job lining it up across the top there. Mm-hmm. So we're done with literally half the project at this point. Yay! Yay! Now we have to make a holder for our battery. So we're going to hook up to our negative line and run some tape to the middle for our battery to hang out on, which is not too tough to do. So there we go. Oh, I did my LED backwards, didn't I?
Flip it.
I flipped it again. Well,
the pressure of performing on camera while building it.
I really am. But luckily, our fabric tape is forgivable.
You can lift it right up. Yes.
We're just gonna lift it up and we're gonna flip this around. So, sorry, people at home. The directions make a little more sense. There we go. Ta-da! Or I could just,
I mean, that's why we recommend you download the PDF Look at it.
Oh, good stuff. Anyways,
Before
we're
you
going to
do
go for a negative leg. Oh, goodness. Go from a negative leg out to a little point here in the middle and stop. So I'm going to measure this out a bit, eyeball it a little bit there, measure it out. That should be about right. And luckily our maker tape is forgivable. Like, it makes life really good when I make this mistake. I think I did this in the last video I did with these as well. Like, every time I do this, I always just get my positive and negatives backwards frequently. But again, it doesn't really matter in these situations that much because we can always flip our battery around or take our LED off and change things. So anyway, we're out here to the middle. Yay. And our battery's going to hang out on top right here because this is our negative line now, finally. And our negative on the bottom of our battery. And yay, so we want to get this battery to stick here. And normally, if you're doing something with a conductive sewing project, you want to have a battery holder. If you're using copper foil tape, it's going to get really awkward. But since our wonderful tape is conductive on top and bottom, we can do a little process I like to call the tape loop.
Tape loop.
Which is actually in our directions as well. We just put a little tape loop on the bottom using our maker tape. And since the adhesive is conductive on the bottom, we can just make an easy electrical connection from the battery to our tape with just a little tape loop.
Now there's no other tape you could really use for this. Could I use duct tape?
No, duct tape is not conductive.
Could I use copper tape?
That copper foil stuff
Wouldn't really work.
It was the bane of my existence when I was a teacher. We wanted to use it for so many things, and really, it was like the go-to standard for a reason. It was readily available, pretty inexpensive, but our nylon maker tape makes life a lot easier, and you can get that at makershed.com or browndoggadgets.com. But then now it's stuck on here, Makershed. Not just a fancy overlay. But see, now it's stuck on here. It won't come off.
Nice.
It's good. And if I need to, I can still peel this off pretty easily. And you're good to go. And there, now you have a solid electrical connection, and we can move on to the next part. So, that being said, we're going to go from this guy, and we're going to have a line of tape make another area like this on this side. However, since this is a bracelet, we want to fold it around on itself. We want to make sure our second pad, whether it's positive or negative, doesn't matter, is on the opposite side of our bracelet, so it comes together and makes a connection. I'll show you on this guy. So on this guy, comes down here, and we go around to the back side. There you go. It doesn't matter whether you do positive or negative for that. I've clearly got it backwards. It makes the same connection in the end. So I'm just going to come off of here. I'm going to come down and then go around to the back side. And for that, I'm going to use more of my tape. Then just add up some more layers like this. And we're going to use some tape loops to make the final connection together. You could also use something like a safety pin to keep things hooked together if you have a child who is extra wiggly. I think some kids have a lot of energy. I know a few small children.
Especially all cooped up at home right now. They're bouncing off the walls.
Bingo. So I'm just going to put my maker tape layer on top here, on the positive layer, and just come over. I'm going to do a nice little right angle fold because I love right angle folds.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to come around to the back side. Ta-da-da-da. Yay. Now I'm just going to take a few more strips of tape here, overlap them, and we should be good to go. Then we just put some tape loops on one of our areas, and it'll connect together. By the way, if you have any questions, we are monitoring questions, so please give us a shout out or a question thrown our way, and we're happy to answer them as they come. And Pete is throwing up more of the wonderful the makercamp.com/events if you want to sign up for more of these. We did one for BristleBots last week, didn't we, Pete?
Oh, we did, yes.
With them. Actually, I think I have one of those BristleBots still right here on the table. There's a BristleBot.
The fun thing about the BristleBot is you can't really hook the motor up backwards like the LED, right?
No, you can't. It just spins one way or the other.
Right.
If you hook a motor up backwards, it just spins, clockwise or counterclockwise. And for BristleBot, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. We had a suggestion the other day for BristleBots to do an art BristleBot. A friend of ours, like, hey, you should put some paint on there, which I know I've had teachers do with our products before, with our BristleBots. Makerspaces.com did a nice write-up on using BristleBots with paint for stuff. Mm-hmm. I think on Instructables.com, somebody had made like a VibroBot using Q-tips and a similar motor, basically a Q-tip-based BristleBot type project. Then added paint to the bottom for a fun art project, a fun little wiggle bot. So here we go. There we go. And we've got some layers right here. And if we want to double check, we can just flip this around. Huzzah!
Yay.
LED turns on. Life is good.
Amazing.
So to get this puppy to stick together, we're just going to use some little loops of maker tape like this to get to stick together. These were from our last write-up we did, and they've kind of lost a bit of their stick, but the nice part is I can peel these off and add some new stick to it.
Josh, we got a question here. Could you use Velcro to open and close the bracelet?
Well, Tanya, that's a really good question. Now, there's actually two ways to answer this question. First off, regular Velcro, no, because it's not conductive. However, there is conductive Velcro out there. I know that because I know way too many materials that exist out there these days. It's weirdly expensive because it's conductive hook and loop. I think is the official term. I think Adafruit might have that. I forget where I saw it, but that does exist out there. That'd be one way of doing it. However, if you want a really nice secure way to keep it snapped shut, you want to use a button snap like this. We use these with our conductive sewing projects because they're metal and they'll conduct. However, with this kind of thing, you don't want it really sewing things on to other things. It kind of defeats the purpose of this being a non-sewing bracelet. So I would just suggest like a safety pin or something like that. You really want to make sure this contact and this contact on the other side, they're just touching at least a little bit.
There's some adhesive, like Velcro with adhesive on the back, but even I don't know if that would stick very well. I guess you could add Velcro as long as it's not going to complete the circuit, obviously. You're still going to need the maker tape to do that. But
Now, Pete over here, Pete made more than one design for this, and both of these designs are on our website. He made this version where it comes around the backside, and you can thread this piece of felt through a couple of slots on here. That'll make a decent little no sewing, no
friction fit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And this is a little direction set Pete has. And again, we just covered its maker tape on both sides of here, a little slit, and that works pretty well for keeping things together.
What about a is that a magnet? What about using a magnet?
Now, see those rare earth magnets, the
neodymium?
Yeah, I can never say that correctly. Those are conductive too, which is fun. I just try to avoid magnets with kids for obvious reasons. Now, what you could do, that's a really good point. You could put a magnet underneath here, especially some of those just like ceramic magnets, which are not too dangerous. Get the little donut ones. You could totally put that under here. Then you can peel this off when you're done.
Good idea.
And then you could use another one on this other side, or like a little piece of anything.
Washer or something.
Yeah, something that's conductive, or sorry, that's magnetic. That would totally work as a way to do it. That's a really good idea. Thank you for people throwing questions out there. I just use the tape because the tape is here and it's conductive and it's sticky. So, ta-da!
We have a lot of this tape, don't we?
We have heaps. Just had a bunch more show up from.
Where could they find this tape if they wanted to?
Oh, well, I'm sure BrownDogGadgets.com. Amazon Makershed has our tape as well.
Now, Josh, for a roll of tape there, like that's in front, how many bracelets could you make?
So let's see here. We probably used 2 feet of tape on this, would you say?
Maybe 2 feet.
2.5 if I'm really going generous.
Yeah.
And so there's 65 feet of tape on here. Or if you're in metric, there is 20 meters of tape in this roll.
Wow.
Yes, metric. For the rest of us. We can you can make quite a few of these bracelets with it. We're using the 1/4 inch material. We also have 1/8 inch of our tape as well. We use that with some Lego projects. Now let's just take a quick check here because I want to check this out because I like using these guys. I want to actually see these wonderful little. These guys totally fit in here. So what you could do with your bracelet once you've made your bracelet, if you want to use some 5mm, you could totally do that with this wonderful cutout Pete did. Mm-hmm. And since you have 2 here, just want to make sure you line things up in parallel. I've already lost which one's
Whoa,
positive.
hold on. What does parallel mean?
Parallel means all the positives are touching, all the positives are together, lined up in the same way. All the negatives are lined up. Just keep plopping them down on here. So we could totally do that. Make sure I make sure which one's positive, which one's negative, because I always forget. Always forget. And yeah, you could totally just do that with our little robot friend here. Ta-da! And just line things up appropriately. And you could totally fit 2 of those on here, Pete. That's a good idea.
She looks great with those
She
LEDs.
looks fantastic.
Wonderful.
Not only does she look fantastic, she is very functional as well.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we could totally do that on here. And yeah, just have your want to line things up a little differently with something like this, depending on how everything's lined up. But you could do a couple different ways with this. That was a good idea to do this. Now, Pete, if somebody had a laser cutter or a Cameo Silhouette or a Cura Cut or other things, or really steady X-Acto knife hands, where could they find a file like this?
Ooh, I'm sure our friends at Make probably have that file. They gave it to me back when I was doing Maker Faire, so
good stuff.
I'm sure it's available somewhere.
I like going with flowers. I like to put a little slit in here, and they'll just fit over the
Josh,
top.
could you tell that this was a flower, the one I made before?
Yes, it looked very flowery.
That was my attempt at a flower.
But yeah, I just like doing little slits on things so that it fits over the top. We even go so far as to do some really over-the-top designs with some of our wearable stuff. Here's a pirate owl, because why not? Yar is who?
Not sure.
Owls. But really, once you have your electronics in place, adding other things on top won't mess with it as long as they're not conductive. So regular fabrics galore. You can even use a needle and thread and sew things around. I do have somebody who once took our 1/8" maker tape, and they made their circuit with the tape on the fabric, and then went over that 1/8" tape, it's nice and thin, with a regular thread and a zigzag pattern from a sewing machine. Nice. So they kind of went like over the top with that to make it a very secure project. I like to make my wearables fairly simple and quick. That way I'm not spending all day doing them, because sewing stuff takes a while, especially with the conductive thread, because you're hand stitching everything. But yeah, something like this, I mean, it really had not been kind of talking way too much. It would have been done in less than 5 minutes, then decorating, and then ta-da.
And I think you could also, if you don't care as much for the aesthetic of seeing the tape, I mean, we love the tape. You could cut another layer maybe of fabric and put it over it and decorate on top of it and kind of hide it.
And that's a nice thing, yeah. You could just totally put on another layer of fabric over the top of this, hide things. Again, take that little approach of putting a slit in things and just keep that couple layers there. The big thing is just making sure your battery is easily accessible. So if you want to switch out that battery later on, which everyone will, you can easily get access to it without having to take apart or pry apart glue and whatnot. And even here, like, I can replace this battery pretty easily. If I need to replace some tape, I can. Again, since our tape is conductive on top and bottom, I can just yank off a piece and overlap some more. And this will last quite a long time. Kind of good for cosplay, any sort of outings. You know, if someone goes to dance parties, you can make a fun light-up outfit.
Yeah.
Now, we also have one of the other colors I like to use a lot. We have color-changing LEDs, just naturally color-changing. These are actually naturally blinking LEDs as well, which are pretty fantastic. They just blink when you add power to them. And so something like that is pretty easy to add some pizzazz to a project with no extra wiring or microcontrollers or programming or any of that fun things. So last chance, do you have any questions for this? Because we're done. I'm not going to make another one up with eyes, because I think we've been doing this for a while now.
Here's a kind of a question. Make a piano bracelet with an RGB piano. We've made a piano tie.
We have made it. Actually, it's right here. I'm going to go grab it. This is great.
He's gonna grab it. He'll be right back.
We're going to grab the piano
There we
tie.
go.
There we go.
Piano tie.
So let's go back to the above view, so you can get a better...
Top view.
Top-down view.
There we go. Yep.
So we actually did make a piano tie with our maker tape.
Yes.
So this is just a cruddy tie off Amazon. It's just a classic 80s piano tie. We've got our maker tape here. We've got a little piezo speaker. And on the backside, we have our little, this is a Lego-compatible microcontroller that we make for our Crazy Circuits line. We just used our 1/8" tape to connect up our little capacitive touch points on there. So plug this into a USB power source, and you can literally play 8 notes on piano.
Could you play like Funky Town?
Why, Pete, it's funny that you asked that. Yes, indeed. If we had a power source, we could in fact play Funky Town.
All right.
Because that's the notes we set up on here. But this was a pretty easy project as well. Again, we're doing that overlapping tape approach, and then just connecting our tape to our little microcontroller here. You can do the same thing with like a this is a teensy LC in the inside here. What is it? The Arduino Micro
Nano we use.
We use the Nano doesn't have capacitive touch on it.
Oh,
is it, I think the Micro Pro Micro.
Okay.
If you break out the pins on there, so you can add tape to it, that works really well.
Yeah.
Anything with capacitive touch on there is the key. But yeah, I mean, you can make bigger projects like this. We have a bunch of like NeoPixel S components, but really, and conductive tape works well as long as you can like tape down things to one part to the other. I mean, we did it on here by just running tape through one of these holes. If you have parts with big pads on them, especially, you can easily just overlap it on there.
Right.
It just really, I think like a microbit would also work really well too, running tape up to the little pads on there. The LilyPad Arduino, the ADIP Fruit with Circuit Playground would probably also work really well. The nice big holes like this to run tape to.
Yeah.
So a nice easy way you can just easily add tape to things and make your project lickety-split as opposed to sitting there sewing for days, because we've done that and no one likes sewing for days. Well, some people do. Not us when it comes to wearables.
We're not good at it. That's the thing. We're very good at using tape.
The tape is easy for everyone. Everyone's good at tape, I think, at this point, kind of like a conductive dough. But anyway, this is the project. Thanks for asking questions. You can totally just add any parts whatsoever. Heck, you could add motors to these projects if you wanted to.
I'm going to have to make a piano bracelet now. We're going to have to do that.
Piano bracelet with an RGB diode.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay. All right, back to our bracelet.
Back to our bracelet. Yeah. So enough conductive time. But this is our bracelet. Thanks for doing this. Remember, you can find these wonderful directions at browndoggadgets.com. Printable directions for this version and the other version. You can find us doing live streams almost all week long in the afternoon on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, which is still a thing. And find us on Twitter, Instagram, all those fun things. Of course, you can find cool things every day at makercamp.com/events, or if you're watching this through Facebook, through the Make Facebook or Maker Camp Facebook groups. Anyway, social media. You like any of the stuff you see here, follow Maker Camp. Follow us, Brown Dog Gadgets. But thanks for watching. We really hope you learned something. And overlays.
There we go.
And then, check out this project because it's just so darn simple to do. Oh, no, it's green screen effect.
It's yellow. I swear it's yellow.
It's yellow. Green screen.
Okay. Green screens are fun.
But, these are great projects and easy for kids to do. And as you saw, a child 7 years and up, easy they can make it themselves with very little adult supervision, very little chance of hurting themselves, which is also very important when with electronics and small components and children. And especially easy for you adults as well who aren't big into electronics but want to help their kids do some fun projects. This is something that anybody can pick up and figure out on their own with very, very little effort and very little cost involved as well. That's something we didn't touch on. I think the total cost of this project, $1?
Yeah.
If you have fabric at home already, the biggest issue is like the actual materials, about $1. Of course, a bag of LEDs, a bag of thing of conductive tape. Nothing ever comes individually.
We have everything but the felt on browndoggadgets.com.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
actually.
so you can get everything.
If you want to buy one of this from us or Maker Shed or off Amazon, the Paper Circuits Kit, our Paper Circuits Kit literally has all these materials in it, just not the fabric. But it literally is, you can do this out of paper as well. But I know makershed.com is going to have that very, very, very soon. And as well as our website. That's $25 for the small individual kit, and that'll make 10 plus projects for $25. And you have a bunch of extra supplies in there as well. But definitely recommend this for a teacher or parent, librarian, you name it. And we're going to stop saying that over and over again. But thanks for watching us.
Thank you.
Take care, and hopefully see you next week. Remember, makercamp.com. Sign up for the events and see more fun live streams from us and other people.
All right.
Magic.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching.
Yep.
Have a good afternoon. Goodbye.
Bye.